Hello everyone and welcome to the 12th episode, I believe, of the Skull Mug, in which I show you different beers that I enjoy drinking, try out different craft beers that I've never had before, and talk to you about whatever the fuck it is that I want to talk about. So, on this episode, I have a beer here that I've never had before. It's called Duvel. I believe it's German. Belgian, actually. It's a Belgian Golden Ale. This one was given to me as a gift for my birthday last year by my friend Chris. He's a cool guy. He has his own YouTube channel, actually, Christopher Crane. If you go and check that out, he makes things like short films, funny little comedy videos. For example, he has this series called Cooking with Chris Loaded, in which he basically cooks, well, he pretends to cook meals while being wasted out of his goddamn mind. It's pretty funny. And he also puts all his own music up on his channel too. So I highly recommend you go and check his stuff out. I think he's a good entertainer. And you might even see me over there. I've been in a couple of his videos. So this is an 8.5%. It's not really all that interesting in all honesty, except for the fact that it's Belgian. But given the fact that it's 8.5%, but the bottle is really small, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets me quite tipsy. So, I actually might need, I don't think this is a twist off. I might need to get a bottle opener. 1 second. I have my little Born Broken bottle opener here. Born Broken is like a groove / death metal band from here in Montreal. Cool guys. I saw them perform once, and once or twice actually, and they actually ended up winning the Vakken Battle of the Bands in terms of Canada. God damn. It's not very good though. Fuck, this is a shitty can opener. Bottle opener. Alright, never mind. I'm gonna use the one that's on my keys. Aha! Success. Alright. And now we can pour. You can already tell it's got a good taste. That's some good shit. So what do I want to talk about today? As you can probably tell by the title of this video and the thumbnail, the topic is Marilyn Manson. And why do I want to talk about Marilyn Manson? Well, if you've seen anything in the news lately, if you do not live under a rock, then chances are you've probably heard about his abuse allegations that have come out via Evan Rachel Wood, the actor that used to date him way back in the day. I mean, like way back in the day too. Like, we're talking like something like 20 years ago. And also multiple other people that have come out and levied accusations against him of basically emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. So this is some pretty heavy shit because I am actually a huge fan of Marilyn Manson, or at least the music that he makes. Maybe not necessarily the person, but you know, you can make an argument there whether or not those two things are conflated. I mean, if the person never existed, then the art that they created probably wouldn't have existed either. So if I'm a fan of the music or the art that he creates, then I guess I also have to admit that I'm a fan of the person that made it. But the thing that I really want to talk about is whether or not you can reconcile whether or not you can reconcile being a fan of the art that somebody creates while also acknowledging that they're a shitty person. Because I honestly have no doubt that Manson is guilty. Like, I fully believe this. Not because I feel like I have to automatically, like, you know, believe people who make any kind of accusation at all, but with regards to like the Me Too movement and stuff that's happening in relation to that, you have a lot of people who are serial abusers. You know, it's not like this one isolated incident of this high-profile celebrity abusing somebody and sweeping it under the rug and then never doing it again for the rest of their life. Like, that's not typically what's happening here. For example, you look at Bill Cosby. Someone like Bill Cosby, I mean, how many fucking people came out and accused him of all the shit that he done, like, of all the shit that he did. I mean, at that point, when you have that many people coming out and saying, you know, this guy, he drugged me, he raped me, he abused me, like, whatever, it's hard to deny that. You know, you can't really go up against that and say, like, well, look at all these people, and, like, if you check out their stories, like, the timelines, they line up correctly. Like, it seems that none of them are lying. And I'm sure that in some high-profile cases, you're always going to have, like, maybe one or two people, or, you know, a small percentage of the total number who are going to be there just because they want to try and, you know, get some recompense for something that didn't actually happen to them. But for the most part, when you have this many people coming out and levying accusations against a celebrity, it's not just because they're looking to make a name for themselves, it's probably because that person is actually a piece of shit. Like Bill Cosby, I have no doubt in my mind he's a piece of shit. Harvey Weinstein, all these people, fucking Roman Polanski, like, they're all very believable cases, and unfortunately I have to say that Marilyn Manson also is very believable. Because you have, I think it's like 4 or 5 people now have come out saying that he's been an abusive piece of shit to them, including even fucking Corey Feldman, of all people, has come out and said that Manson basically psychologically abused him over the course of a certain period of time. I can't remember exactly what it was. So, it's fucked. But the thing is, like, you know, I'm genuinely, like, a huge fan of Manson's music. I haven't written my top 10 best albums of 2020 list yet for Where Strides the Behemoth, my music blog, but We Are Chaos was going to be, like, number 4 on that list. You know, I genuinely loved that album so much. I thought it was great. I listened to it so much last year. I was jamming it, like, at work all the time, and now I'm left in this position of wondering, you know, if I continue my original plan and include that album on the list, am I helping to promote somebody who is a serial abuser and basically a massive piece of shit? And to be honest, I don't really know the answer to that question, because on one hand I feel like, you know, I'm not a huge promoter. You know, it's not like I'm somebody who's got like a super far reach. It's not like I'm a tastemaker or a gatekeeper or something like that, but people do sometimes read the things that I say, and I still feel like I have this culpability of, like, do I want to put this piece of art where it belongs, even if the person that made it is a piece of shit? It's more than just that. It's an ethical question for me, just as much as it is a question of journalistic integrity, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I don't consider myself a journalist or anything, but I feel like you understand what I'm trying to say. Because I'm also, unfortunately, it sounds so weird to say, unfortunately I'm also a fan of Burzum. You know, like, I genuinely enjoy the music that Burzum has made, at least in the past. The more like dungeon synth, the ambient stuff that he's doing, like, right now in the last 5 to 10 years, I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's kind of crappy, in all honesty. Even the most recent album, Thulian Perspectives, was god-awful, like probably the worst thing that I've heard from Burzum. And I acknowledge that Varg Vikernes is like a fucking piece of shit. Like, he's horrible. If you follow him on Twitter, like, you'll see, I guarantee within 5 minutes of being on Twitter and following him, you'll see some horrible, like, race realist shit that he's posted, or, like, you know, this anti-immigration rhetoric and anti, basically, like, horribly racist rhetoric, you know? So how can I say that I'm a fan of Burzum but also disavow Varg Vikernes as a person? How can I say that I'm a fan of Marilyn Manson while also disavow Brian Warner as a person? It's really difficult to do that, you know? It's not something that comes with ease. I don't really think it's something you can just kind of brush under the rug. You know, it's like, I think, and I've talked about this with my partner before, and this is like a way that she kind of looks at things, and I feel like I can sort of do the same thing, where it's like, I can look at a song like Irresponsible Hate Anthem by Manson and say, like, I fucking love that song. Like, you know, even though, like, I'm not a huge. I wouldn't, like, repeat the lyrics, you know, given the times that we live in and just, like, the perception of some of the words that are used in that song. I would not say those things out of respect for other people. But I genuinely love that song. And, you know, last year I was just like, I was really getting into Manson's, like, older discography, you know, walking down the street, going to work, well, at work, and just, like, really bumping that record. But now I find that it's really difficult to do so. So what my partner suggested is acknowledging that they're a horrible person and also not financially supporting them. Because I think, like, you know, I don't want to just stop listening to songs that I really love or albums that I really love because it turns out that a person behind it did some really horrible things or said some really horrible things or is responsible for, you know, even something as horrible as, like, a hate crime, you know. But I can still enjoy it and not financially support them. And I think that's where, like, the line is drawn for me. And that even includes something as simple as streaming, because even though we all know that Apple Music and Spotify don't exactly pay their artists all that well, like, Manson's fine. He's well off. He's living somewhere in California, up in, like, Beverly Hills or whatever, and he's got enough money to himself that I really don't care about, like he's not hurting for money, you know? And honestly, neither is Varg Vikernes. You know, he's living off in the French countryside somewhere with his family, living off the grid, off the land, aside from whenever he makes stupid posts on Twitter. So they don't really need our money. But I think if you find a way in which you can listen to their music and appreciate it for what it is as a standalone piece of art while not giving any money to the person that created it, you're not helping to support something that could be used to harm other people. You know, you're not giving money to somebody who's going to then use that money to go and spew hate speech on a social media platform, or is going to use that money to use their lawyers to silence somebody who has a grievance for something that happened to them because of that person long ago in the past. And that's really where I think I stand on the issue. But even now when I listen to the music of those people, it's like I listen to it and have to, like, I have this feeling that comes over me of just like, oh God, like, this piece of art is now tainted by the person that created it. And I mean, you can say the same thing about film as well. Look at how many movies Harvey Weinstein's produced. You know, me and Aaron, we were watching a bunch of Tarantino movies recently, and the Weinsteins produced a lot of those films, like Reservoir Dogs. So every time we're watching one of those movies and, like, you know, produced by Harvey Weinstein comes up at the beginning, we're just like, oh God, fucking why? And it's just a fact that money from those dirty hands was involved in the production of that film. But, you know, you can also just not pay for it. And I'm not saying, you know, you should go out and steal from, like, every person ever, but there are ways in which you can get your hands on this type of media without directly contributing to the harm of another person. And that's really the point that I wanted to drive home. I realize this is coming across as kind of rambly, but it's honestly because this is a bit of a heavy topic to deal with for me. You know, I take my consumption of art and media, like, very seriously. Not, you know, like, I'm a fucking nerd, I'll admit that. And it's not like my life is consumed by this kind of stuff, but it's something that I do deeply care about, especially being a musician myself. And, you know, I couldn't imagine doing something so horrible to somebody else as some of the stuff that Manson has done. You know, literally, like, chasing his girlfriend with a fucking axe, keeping them locked up in a bedroom, like, chained to a bed for days, like, you know, starving them, just this horrible, like, rigorous emotional, physical, and mental abuse. Like, it's all disgusting to me. And I know that there are people on the local level of music scenes who are like that, or maybe not, like, to that extent, but who have, like, done horrible abusive shit to other people. And just being a musician and being from that world myself, it's like I can't listen to the music of somebody who I know is a piece of shit and still enjoy it in the same way that I did before. So this is honestly really fucking disappointing. I'm honestly at a loss for words as to how to describe how I feel about Marilyn Manson right now, especially because he's somebody that I really looked up to in the past, you know, growing up in a Christian household in the 90s at that. Somebody who really inspired and influenced me, and it just really sucks that they've turned out to be just a complete dickhead. So those are my thoughts on the whole Marilyn Manson scandal. Fucking shitty. See you in the future.